To you by GDF Suez.
The debate tonight, Europe strikes, but is austerity the answer? With all governments taking a belt-tightening attitude towards sorting out the financial crisis, and with workers taking to the streets across the continent, France 24 is asking, is austerity the answer? In Brussels today and in Madrid, demonstrations took place. We'll get a snapshot of what happened in Spain first. France 24's Sarah Morris joins us. Sarah, the general strike, they're calling it, thousands of people on the streets. Give us a taster of what they were saying.
Basically, the unionists were saying that they wanted to send a message to the socialist government in Spain of Zapatero, as well as to other governments, that neoliberalism, as they put it, isn't working. That all it will do is slow down the economic recovery, and it will do nothing to correct unemployment, which here in Spain is 1 in 5 people, and young people there's 42% of young people unemployed. Their message was very clear. We need to maintain that economic stimulus for longer to keep the economy growing again, and cutting back on people's salaries and reforming the labour market to make it easier for people to fire people will just worsen the situation. And today we saw we're about to have a massive march. The unions say it will be massive turnout. It will start and it's about to end here in Seoul. We'll see that in about half an hour gathering here.
Sarah, how difficult is life for the average Spanish person? Obviously, we hear about the fact that unemployment is running really high in Spain. We all know about how the crisis has affected many, many families all across the world. Give us a snapshot of how difficult it is for the average Spanish family.
Well, it's been very difficult again because even those people who have kept their jobs, they have been told, can you work fewer hours, and that will save us making people redundant. We've got 1.3 million families here in Spain where not a single member of the household is in work. There's a real fear, and one of the things that the unionists and some of the demonstrators, because other than unionists, lots of young people and lots of other people have come out today, and one of the things they've been saying to me is the people who haven't come out, some of them are frightened that they will lose their jobs if they strike today. There is a very tense atmosphere in Spain, but there's also, on the other hand, there's a bit of a resignation that these austerity measures are here to stay and that life will be very painful for a long time. In Spain, there's a lot of people who, even before the crisis, in the good times, there were a lot of people who had degrees, who came out of university and spent years of their first years of jobs earning sort of €1,000 before taxes. And so there's a generation here which is really a lost generation, as they call themselves. They are condemned to living at home with mum and dad. That doesn't help, of course, make a dynamic economy because those people are not out buying houses and spending. So there's tough times here in Spain indeed.
Sarah Morris, watching events unfolding in Madrid. Thank you very much for joining us, Sarah. Now let's talk a bit about Brussels, often referred to, of course, as the capital of Europe. Besieged by demonstrators today, police sealing off shops and banks and barricading even the EU headquarters. Now, many of the protesters are angry about measures being taken not just in Belgium, but in Greece, Italy, Ireland and Latvia. France 24's Frédéric Simon joins us from Brussels. Frédéric, we've heard about what happened in Madrid. Give us a taster of things as they unfolded in Brussels.
Well, in Brussels, there were about 100,000 demonstrators from unions from across the whole of the European Union. This is the highest number of demonstrators that have been marching on Brussels since 2001, so almost a decade. Among them were, as I said, people coming from all corners of Europe, but especially from France. There were about 20,000 French unionists demonstrating in the streets of Brussels today. Others were coming from the whole area had been cordoned off to prevent any problems from arising during the demonstration, and it was a very tense atmosphere indeed.
Frédéric, the pictures that we're seeing while you are talking is very much painting the scene, I suppose, letting us see exactly what's happening. As you say, packed with people, clearly a tense atmosphere as well. In terms of what Brussels, what the European Union wants to do next and getting every country to clamp down and try to meet their deficits, I take it the feeling among the crowd was that if there's more austerity, there'll be more demonstrations, more people unhappy.
Well, yeah, the overall sentiment here in Brussels was that, from the unionist side at least, was that the measures, the austerity measures, which have been agreed in all different kinds of European countries, went too far and were implemented too soon as a kind of a panic reaction to the Greek crisis, which has sent the euro tumbling in the beginning of the year. And so there are other policies which are being implemented elsewhere, for example, in the United States, where there is still growth, pro-growth packages which are being implemented by President Obama, and what the Social Democrats and the Unionists are saying is that we shouldn't agree on any kind of measure that will stifle growth in the future and lead, in the end, to a double-dip recession, which is what everybody is fearing. And this, of course, is happening at the same time that the Commission today was presenting new proposals to stabilize the euro following the Greek crisis, and so the demonstration was also aimed directly at the Commission.
Frederick, thank you very much indeed. A snapshot there of what's been happening in Brussels and in Madrid. Let's bring you now into the studio to meet our guests here gathered to discuss tonight's topic. Now, just to sort of, before we do that, let's just examine, obviously, the pan-European malaise that's brought people onto the streets again. It may well bring them out more times in the future, I suppose, as this clampdown comes to bring member states, including France, within the EU's budgetary parameters. Let's have enough of me. Let's now bring you the guests here to discuss this. Ali Fatemi is from the American Graduate School here in Paris. Thank you, sir, for being with us. On the other side of the studio, we have Marcus Kerber from the University of Berlin, also the think tank Europolis Online. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Monsef Sheikh Ruhu is Professor of International Finance based here in Paris. Good to see you again. And our final guest, last but certainly not least, is Alfio Sarami from the Centre for European Studies at Sciences Po here in Paris. Thank you, sir, for making it to the studio to speak to us. Open question. Is austerity the right way ahead? Ali?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There is no other way.
Very definite.
Yes, there is no other way. Europe is growing up. It had to go through this process. You can't have a single currency without some discipline. Wages in Spain and other countries rose above average. If devaluation was possible, that would have been a solution. But with the current currency, no country can devaluate. The only alternative is that you harmonize your fiscal policy, your monetary policy, which is done by the central bank, and the so-called convergence criteria, which was necessary for everyone to join. Had they been faithful to that, we wouldn't be here today. But the first violators were Germans and the French in 2003. When they were let go ahead and weren't fined, I think that's where the whole thing started. You have to start disciplining with the big ones if you expect others to listen. But right now, there is no other alternative but austerity.
So, to put it into boxing parlance, it's no pain, no gain, I think, is what you're